What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. And I got something a little different, tomorrow or the day after that, a next part to What If Alucard was in Come Got Killed should be out. It should be. Probably not. Oh well. Anyway, I plan on doing another My Hero What If. And this My Hero What If is gonna be what if Deku had Mjolnir, or just had Mjolnir. Now let's get on into this because I don't want to keep on rambling. Because if I do, this video is gonna be a lot longer than I want it to be. So yeah, let's get into it. So Deku's heart essentially is in his throat right now as he's about to ask All Might this question, like, can someone like me, without a quirk, be a hero? As the scene ran through Midoriya's head over and over and over again as he ran through the street cities, burnt notebook in hand, just sniff hard in the effect that he can't stop his tears from flowing. So at this point, he didn't really care. He needed to know this question. As All Might finally said no. He finally heard confirmation from his hero himself. You can't be a hero. Someone like you, quirkless. I mean, sure, in the next generations, maybe, but for you to be quirkless, you're putting yourself in a heavy disadvantage from everybody else who still happens to have one. Sure, you could train. Sure, you can boost your body with like calisthenics, with armor and parts and this junk, but to say, can you be one without it? I'm sorry, kid. So Deku, him hearing this, he's like, well, I guess when All Might tells you, that's really all there is to it. As a Midoriya, choking, not watching where he's going. In fact, his legs carried him without thinking until he was off on the sidewalks, off the roadsides, in a decent way from civilization. As he wiped his eyes, caught his breath, looked around and realized he didn't recognize where he was, nor how he came to be surrounded by trees. There's not a forest around here, is there? He asked, but no one in particular. He was met with silence. There wasn't a forest around here, is there? As Deku, he's just looking around. He's saying, like, looking around in the woods. And a few animals skittered and ran across the areas, leaving him. But there was no answer. However, in the distance, he could see a light from a clearing. Maybe that's where I came from. Deku wandered in a thin, beaten path towards the light, a bit embarrassed that he allowed himself to lose track of time and even his location in his breakdown. But as he approached, he realized that this clearing wasn't civilization, no. He had came across a small pond. In the middle of the pond was a rock of sorts, jittering up from the water, perfectly centered and surrounded by tall trees in the forest. There, sitting on the rock, was a large hammer of sorts. It was a simple hammer, or rectangular box of some sort of metal, wooden handle, poking straight into the sky. In any other circumstance, Midoriya would have just felt disappointed, perhaps even fearful that he was lost. But not today. For some reason, that hammer was calling out to him. Not vocally, of course, but Deku's chest made his heart actually jump. His mind went numb, filled with nothing but the desire to get that hammer. So he began to move forward towards the waist-deep water, not minding that he was getting his school uniform dirty, not minding as the bottom of his backpack was in the water. So Deku climbed the rock with ease and looked down at the rather intimidating weapon. He grabbed the handle, expecting the hammer to feel heavy, but to his shock, it lifted easily, holding it up to eye level with one hand. Is this a prop or something? He wondered out loud. He ran his finger over the surface of the hammer, which confirmed that it was indeed solid metal. It was then a bolt of lightning came crashing from the crystal blue sky and struck Deku dead in his chest. Afterwards, Deku was gone. Not dead, but gone. He blinked a few times and gasped, no longer in a mysterious forest. Deku found himself in a mysterious hall that stretched taller than any building, stained glass windows all around him. The hallway itself was empty, save for one man sitting on a throne and at the back of it. The man was far from anyone Deku had ever met before. He looked like something out of a Viking folklore, with a winged helmet, a braided beard, and long blonde hair that was beginning to turn gray. He had a metallic eye patch covering his right eye, and his face was rugged and scarred from many battles. However, at Deku's appearance, the Viking looked down at the boy and gave a broad grin. Ah, it appears Mjolnir has finally found someone worthy. Wait, what? Deku said, this has to be a joke, right? Where am I? The Viking stood up. I am not one for jokes. I got a rabbit friend. Him and his tree are good at jokes. But you, boy, you are no jest. For you are worthy. You are no longer Izuku Midoriya. I'm not? Deku asked. The Viking descended the stairs and shrugged. Well, I mean, no, you're still Izuku Midoriya, but not just that. You hear my title. You are the God of Thunder. At this, the clapping of thunder was heard outside the stained glass windows, louder than Deku had ever heard one before. The throne room itself shook at its announcement. He flinched, and then when he saw it, he indeed changed. Holding the hammer, Deku's body didn't look like how it did before. Even under his school uniform, his lanky body morphed into a muscular form. Nothing outlandish, but a body that could only be secured by that. Say if he spent the better part of his year hauling trash off a beach. The hammer Mjolnir sent a tingling force of energy through his entire body. As he marveled at what just happened, the Viking clapped his shoulders. Look at you. Back in my day, the Midgardians would have said you look swole. I need to make this quick. I'm Thor, God of Thunder, or I was. But after a few thousand years, I need to retire and focus on running Asgard. And that's where we are right now. I'm not a warrior I used to be. That's where you come in. Deku felt like his head just got hit by a truck. Or hit by the hammer he was holding. Wait, God of Thunder. I'm you now? As Thor just let out a laugh. Of course not. I'm me. Look at you. Even with all those muscles of an Asgardian god, granted by Mjolnir, you're still tiny compared to me, you scrawny boy. We can talk later. It looks like you are needed. Needed? Izuku said, more confused the more God spoke. Needed how? He didn't get an answer, and with a wave of his hand, a blast of lightning struck Deku, and he found himself no longer in the halls of Asgard, but in the alleyway. He looked over at his hand and still found it Mjolnir clutched tightly in his shaking right palm. But he had no time to question this over the sounds of screaming and explosions. All thoughts were erased from his head as he recognized one of the screams. Kachan? So Deku peered outside of the alleyway and was met with a scene of chaos. The sludge villain All Might had saved him from earlier was running rampant again, and a lot of pro heroes were around, but none of them were doing anything. So he squinted closer and saw Bakugo was in the holes of the sludge, the same way he was when he was saved by All Might. How did he get? Deku began, but didn't hit him. It's his fault. He's the one who grabbed on the All Might, and he must have knocked the bottle loose from the hero's pocket. I have to do something. If I don't, Koski will die because of me and my stupid hero fantasies. So his legs moved without thinking for another time that day as Deku charged forward, but something else did as well. He grabbed Mjolnir by its thick leather strap and swung the hammer around by his side. He could feel something welling up in his chest. The elements, the forces of nature were swelling into his heart. He could feel it. Deku grinned widely as the pro hero shouted for him to get back. He couldn't hear them over the sounds of lightning pulsating in his veins. The sludge monstrosity turned and looked at him as he tried to suffocate Bakugo, and for a second his eyes widened in shock. You. For Asgard! Izuku shouted, turning the hammer so that he could be spinning in front of the villain. A pocket of concentrated air surged from Mjolnir, emulating the Texas smash he'd seen from All Might earlier that day. At the force, the villain was pried from Bakugo in the streets, splattered against the side of a building. You brat! The villain cried, peeling himself off the wall. Bakugo looked up in Deku in shock as Deku lifted his hammer to the sky. From pouring rain clouds, a bolt of lightning came, as if it was called by Izuku, and struck Mjolnir. Deku roared, pointing the hammer towards the sludge villain, and blasted him with a bolt of lightning that blinded the entire street. All that could be heard was the sound of his screaming. So, when the surrounding crowds and pros regained their sights, the sludge villain was splattered against the ground, unconscious and scorched. At the sight, even Deku's breath seized in his chest. How? You! Bakugo growled, snapping at Deku out of his brief trance. Bakugo looked at him. Mixed emotions was on his face. Most evident were shock, relief, and rage. The two boys looked at each other, to the hammer in Deku's hand, and back to each other once more. How did you do that? That was all Bakugo managed to get out before they were both pulled aside by the paramedics. What do you do that for, kid? Are you even licensed to do that? You could have gotten yourself killed. And Deku barely heard the screams of the pro heroes around him as they tried to dismiss him for what he just did, even though they weren't doing anything either. So unlicensed heroics were frowned upon, and he already knew this, but at the moment, he didn't care. All he could do was stare down at Mjolnir. How did I even know to do with it? Deku, he looked up and blinked back at the crowd. You can see All Might in his weak form. You know, the two of them kind of made eye contact, and All Might beamed at him. At the moment, Deku felt his heart kind of like swell up, because no matter what the crowd would say, he knew what he did was the right thing. So in this day, he has been a hero. Unfortunately, the police officer grabbed his shoulder and spun him around and kind of disagreed with him. Like, hey kid, are you licensed to interfere like this? And yeah, Deku kind of like shifted back into a panic state and started stuttering. He's like, well, to be honest, I just kind of found this hammer, and the officer walked a few steps back and grabbed his walkie-talkie and, yo, what should we do about this kid? But as he turned around, a bolt of lightning crashed onto Deku again, blinding everyone. When the light faded, Deku was gone. Give me a warning next time, and Deku said, collapsing on the halls of Asgard at the foot of Odin's throne room. Thor just started laughing again. He's like, well, it's not like I could shoot you a text when you're talking to the police. Deku caught his breath and stood up and dusted himself off. Why? No phone, Thor shrugged. Still, you're a natural. I knew from the moment I saw you, you were worthy. Deku looked down at the hammer in his hands. Worthy, but I'm a quirkless nobody. Thor then grabbed Deku by the shoulders, making Deku jump. Exactly. Come, sit down with me. To Deku's surprise, Thor sat down at the steps leading to his throne and kind of like patted the ground for Deku to sit with him. So Deku, still wondering if this is some kind of dying dream as he's choked on the sludge, being choked it up on the sludge villain. Maybe All Might never saved him. Maybe this is all just his brain coping with his death. But back when I adventured Midgard, or Earth as you call it, Thor explained that, there were not many superpowers, or quirks, as you called them then. Some of the people who did have these abilities were railed together to protect Midgard from all those who set to destroy it. We were called the Avengers, if I remember. As Deku, he jumped to his feet, took a few steps back. Hold up. The Avengers, like the first ever pro hero team? You're that Thor? As you know, Thor puffed up his chest, like, yeah, the very same. Not to brag, but I was definitely the strongest Avenger. Alright, what are you doing? As Thor looked at Deku in confusion as Deku dug out a small notebook out of one of his pockets. We learned so much about you guys during the quirk history. I even wrote an essay paper about whether your ability to control lightning was proof of you being an alien or early quirk. I have so many questions. What is your hammer made out of? Do you generate lightning? Do you command it from the sky? Like, is it inside of you? Alien. Thor scoffed. Boy, I'm an Asgardian, so slow down. What differentiates Asgardians from humans? How long is your lifespan? Does it mean Loki is still around? Ugh, you're just like Banner. Thor groaned, clasping his hand over Deku's mouth. Stop nerding out on me for a little bit. Besides, you wrote the paper. You probably came up with some pretty good conclusions. Deku thought back on his own opinion on the paper that the mighty Thor was just an early emergence of quirks who let power go to his head and also called himself God out of ego. But he decided not to talk about that topic. But according to our class, Deku started talking. Thor was what? Hulk was what? Thor asked. The Hulk and Captain Marvel were recorded as the strongest Avengers. Never mind, Deku said, scratching the back of his head. Didn't you disappear hundreds of years ago? Well, yeah. Asgard got destroyed, blah blah blah, in the cycle of Ragnarok, blah blah blah. Thor rolled his eyes. Or I should say. Long story short, Asgard went through a rebirthing process. And when they came back, the Asgardians came back. My replacement decided she was sick of leading. So, here we are. Oh, Midoriya replied. Oh, well, I guess that lines up with my notes, but what makes you think I'm worthy? That's where I've been wanting to talk to you about before you went all science mode on me. Thor laughed. Anyway, back then there weren't many who had the power to stop evil. And now you live in a time where almost everyone has that ability. And the people who are the most able only seem to care about it for some coin or fame. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with the glory of battle and the spoils of the fight. But you, Thor grinned, you're the only Asgardian whose entire drive revolves around saving others. As Midoriya looked down at his own planes, setting Mjolnir down on the step beside him. So you think I'm worthy of being a hero because I want to save others? Thor shook his head. Not just me, Midoriya. Mjolnir deems whether you are worthy. I thought you were worthy, so I put it there. Sure, but you're the one who needs to prove it. Mjolnir thinks I'm worthy as Deku starts sniffing. And, you know, some tears. He starts crying. It's a very emotional moment. And before he knew it, he basically grabbed Thor in the hug and just started crying, saying like, thank you and all that junk. He's like, wait, stop, you're getting me all wet. As Thor gently put Deku down. Jeez, you're more emotional than Spider-Man. Anyway, don't thank me yet. We'll need to train you. Train me? Deku asked, rubbing his eyes. Won't I get trained at hero school? As Thor started laughing, as he started patting Deku on the back. What, you swing the hammer around twice and you think you're some sort of school hero? Don't be dry. You're still an amateur. You, young Midoriya, you're gonna have to learn to fight like an Asgardian god of thunder. Because starting today, that's what you want to be. See you tomorrow. I'll send a bolt of lightning down for you after your classes. Before Deku could say anything, Thor clapped his hands, summoning a lightning bolt that struck Deku, and before he knew it, he was outside of his apartment building, Mjolnir in his hand. Deku stared at his building. He then put down his hammer and then back up again, trying to process the events that happened in the last hour. Sheesh. An hour. 60 minutes. And he's gone from Midoriya, the quirkless loser who should kill himself, to Midoriya, the god of thunder. I gotta be dreaming, Deku was muttering to himself. Oh, there you are, you shitty nerd. Oh, maybe this is a nightmare. Midoriya groaned. And where he turned around to see Bakugo marching up to him with a angry look on his face. Or as Deku like to call it, the default looking face. So Bakugo stopped in front of Deku and paused, looking at the hammer hanging limply at his side. But he shook it off and just started going on an angry assault on him. I didn't need your help. You didn't need to save me. I don't need help from a useless nerd like you, even if you found some stupid support crap. Give me that. As Bakugo tried to reach for Mjolnir to pull it from Deku's hands, but yeah, something weird happened. The second Deku let go, Bakugo launched forward as the hammer fell into the ground with a massive crash. And Bakugo grunted, pulling at the handle. How did you make this so heavy? Bakugo grunted, bent over, and grabbing at the hammer with both hands and tugged. Mjolnir, however, that thing just wasn't moving. As Deku tried to help Bakugo, but he was met with an explosion to his chest, which knocked him a few feet on his butt. as Bakugo just got up and just got pissed off again, like as if I need a weak person like as if a weak person like you could lift this. I should be able to. As Bakugo squat down and started tugging at Mjolnir again, and yeah, that thing was not moving. So Deku stood up, smiling, chuckling to himself, watching Bakugo struggle with it over and over and over again. Usually everything came so easy to him. Made Deku kind of laugh a little bit. Slowly he reached a hand towards Mjolnir, but when he opened his palm, another curious thing happened. Mjolnir lifted off the ground, flipped it over, and flew straight into Deku's hand in the second flat. Even better, when it's flipped upright, it hit Bakugo right on his nose, sending him flying on his butt. As Deku wrapped his fingers around Mjolnir's handle and grinned. Ah! The Bakugo screamed, clutching his nose with both his hands as a lot of blood was seeping out. What did you do to my nose? As Deku started smiling, as he smiling down at his hammer, as he gave it a light toss in the air, flipping it once more and catching it by the handle again. It's my hammer. As he turned around, looking at Bakugo, giving him a very peaceful way to be like, "Hey, yo, I see you tomorrow at school." And so, yeah, that's where I'm gonna end it right there. Leave a like, comment down below, so subscribe. Tell me what you think, you know. And if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, shit. I tried, okay? I tried. I swear I tried. So, yeah, I'm out. Peace.